My name is Donaldson, and I'm a cartographer. That means I make maps. One Saturday afternoon, I invited two of my neighbors, Ronnie and his young friend Dick, to visit me. I knew they were having trouble making a map. Ronnie was going on a camping trip with his family, and Dick was going to deliver papers for him. But he couldn't understand the map Ronnie had made of his paper route. I asked them into my workroom to talk over their problem. I had moved a sand table into the room so we could make a model of Ronnie's neighborhood. Then I gave Ronnie a yardstick to measure the table to see how much room we had for laying out a paper route 6 blocks long and 4 blocks wide. Ronnie measured the table. Luckily, its length was just 6 feet. And its width was 4 feet. Now Dick could see that they could make the streets exactly 1 foot apart. Then each block would be 1 foot in length. That's what is meant by scale. Here, the scale is 1 foot equals 1 block. Everything on the map will be drawn to scale. Then I showed Ronnie some models we could use to represent the buildings. It wasn't long before the streets and buildings were all in place, and the model of his paper route was finished. I pointed out that this view of the model was just like an airplane view of a town. Air views of towns and cities are often used to help cartographers make maps. From such a view high above a city, for example, an aerial photograph is made. From an aerial photograph, a map of a whole community can be drawn. At the map studio where I work, we usually make maps of areas much larger than cities or towns. Here, we are making a new map of Pennsylvania. Much will be done to it before it is finished. On a special rotating table called a whirler, colors are added to the map. In this device, each color is made permanent in the places on the map where it belongs. And here is the finished map, with all the colors and names in place. Map making is fascinating work, as Dick and Ronnie were beginning to discover. And now that our model was complete, and Dick could see how the newspaper route went, he was eager to get started on the map. Yet he could see that a map as big as the model would be too large to carry around on a bicycle. But the paper I brought over on the drafting table was smaller than the model. Dick was also worried about how he could keep his directions straight. So on the paper, Ronnie marked this direction north. He knew which direction was north on the model because the railroad station was at the north end of his paper route. But to use this small paper for a map of the route, Ronnie realized that they would have to change the scale. When they had made the model, they had let 1 foot equal 1 block. Now, perhaps they could use a different scale and let a few inches equal 1 block. After Ronnie measured the paper for the map, he decided that they could use this scale. 3 inches equal 1 block. So the blocks which were 12 inches long on the model would be only 3 inches long on the map, 1/4 as much. Now Ronnie wondered if it was all right to use a little square like this to stand for a house. I said that would be a good symbol for his map. A legend explains the lines and symbols that are used. The legend on Ronnie's map would help Dick read it. All the houses were put into scale, 1 inch on the map for every 4 inches on the model. Then came the railroad depot and the tracks. This is the way Ronnie showed the railroad tracks. A line with little marks across it, like railroad ties. Then Ronnie added the symbol for railroad tracks to the legend. He decided to use an X as his symbol to show the houses where papers were to be delivered. Dick could easily read this map. Then Ronnie marked the paper route to the place where it crossed a bridge. I showed them the symbol often used for bridges. Then I showed them the symbol usually used for a church, a square like a house with a cross on top of it, and the symbol for a school, a square with a flag. Then I pointed out that maps are really a kind of writing which uses lines and symbols to show things. A map tells anyone who can read it a great deal about the area it represents. The legend helps us to read a particular map. It explains the meaning of the symbols that are used in the map. Ronnie put in the street names, completed the legend and the newspaper route, and the map was ready. Dick, or anyone who knew how to read maps, could use it. Ronnie noticed a map of the United States on the wall, and he said he'd show Dick where he and his family were going camping. They were going to Leadville in Colorado. But Leadville wasn't on the map. Perhaps it was too small a town. I suggested that Ronnie try a different map, a more complete map of Colorado in an atlas. This kind of map has a grid made of these vertical lines and these horizontal lines. To find Leadville, we first looked it up in the index, which is arranged alphabetically. Leadville, Colorado, page 118, at G4 on the map. On page 118, Ronnie found G along the top of the map, and then 4 along the side of the map. He followed across on 4 and down on G until his fingers met, and there was Leadville. I explained that nearly every map has some sort of cross lines for locating things on it. Now Dick had a question. Why are the states in different colors? He knew that Colorado isn't really orange. When you travel along a highway and cross a state line, the land looks just the same on both sides. Unless there's a sign, you don't know when you go from one state to another. On a map, color is sometimes used to help indicate where one state ends and another begins. Dick noticed how the color blue shows lakes, rivers, and oceans. Then I showed them another map, which uses color in a different way. This is a physical map, which shows the elevation or height of the land. Each color represents a different height. Here, the legend explains the exact height each color or shade represents. Then I showed the boys a group of maps of the United States, each telling a different story. The stories were easy to figure out when you use the legend as a guide. The other thing that helps you read a map, besides its legend, is its scale. We can show any area on any size paper just by using a larger or smaller scale. Whether it's a map of a continent, or a hemisphere, or even the whole world. Legend and scale are the keys that unlock the story of any map, just as they explain the story of the boys' map. the story of where Dick is to deliver papers while Ronnie is on his vacation.